Thank
Welcome,
you.
Dr. Arindam.
Thank you, Dr. Devdulal. Thanks for giving me this opportunity in your IC. Are my slides visible?
Yes, yes. Please
Okay.
proceed.
Okay. So I'll straight away come to the topic of vitreous hemorrhage. The initial workup obviously includes the routine history taking regarding history of trauma, systemic disease, besides the onset and duration. Slit lamp examination is important from the view of the media because corneal diseases or cataract can hamper surgery. So certain cases in which cataract is extremely dense, we may have to do a combined surgery or a two-stage surgery. Blood staining of the posterior capsule is important to note because that may lead to difficulties in removal of the posterior of the anterior hyaloid. There is a chance of a lens touch. Neovascularization of the iris and the angle should be noted because they can create issues during the surgery by causing excessive bleeding unless preoperatively treated with anti-VEGFs. Dilated evaluation of the other eye may give us a clue to the history or to the etiology of the vitreous hemorrhage. Like the other eye may show features of PDR or vasculitis as shown in this picture. The mechanisms of vitreous hemorrhage are abnormal vessels as in diabetic retinopathy, NV due to RVOs, sickle cell retinopathy, and rupture of normal vessels as in retinal tears, trauma, PVD with retinal tears, retinal detachments, and Terson syndrome. And blood can come from an adjacent source like macroaneurysms or ARMD. Timing, of course, is urgent if there is associated RD or neovascularization. But in other cases, we can wait from a period of 1 to 3 months. The ultrasound is a very important investigative tool because it gives us a clue of what lies beneath. So it indicates the presence or absence of an RD, of a TRD, of a CD, a mass lesion, or ARMD, especially the PCV variety. It helps in surgical selection and planning the surgical procedure, and it also helps us in avoiding surgery in certain cases where the prognosis is extremely poor, as in closed funnel RDs associated with VTIM. The recent hemorrhage that is diffuse and light may be acoustically clear, although it completely may obscure the view of the fundus. PVDs can be complete or incomplete. An incomplete PVD can have single or multiple vitreoretinal adhesions. Contraction of the membranes lead to TRDs, and due to contraction of fibrous tissue along the detached posterior hyaloid. Post-vitrectomized eyes with vitreous hemorrhage may show low reflective dot echoes. An absence of PVD in young patients and post-traumatic vitreous hemorrhage is important to note because PVD induction may be quite difficult. So this is an example of a easy, fairly easy case where there is a near complete PVD with vitreous hemorrhage. But here, certain cases, we may anticipate difficulties based on the ultrasonographic picture, like this gentleman had come with a vitreous hemorrhage with a inferior RD with a big tear here. And this patient also had dense cataract and was a post-LASIK eye. So we had to go for combined surgery. The cornea clouded up after cataract surgery. Corneal epithelial removal had to be done. Had to be avoided as it was likely to disturb the flap. The poor visualization led to an intra-op bleed from the retinotomy, unfortunately. And post-op, of course, the patient had 636 vision and the retina was attached, but we have this bleed here. So the other conditions where surgical difficulties may be anticipated are vitreous hemorrhage with TRD, like this patient had undergone complicated cataract surgery elsewhere. The fundus was not visible and there was a TRD. This ultrasound depicts a tabletop TRD with a vitreous hemorrhage. This is another case operated elsewhere for cataract with vitreous hemorrhage. Now the previous surgeon hasn't removed the posterior hyaloid and it is possibly caused the combined RD, and he also has vitreous hemorrhage. So this scenarios indicate that the resurgery will be extremely difficult because persisting posterior hyaloid is a condition where it precipitates extensive PVR changes. Other issues during the surgery could be suprachoroidal or subretinal placement of infusion due to poor visualization. So always make sure that the tip of the trocar is well visualized. Alternatively, 6 mm infusion or an anterior chamber infusion line may be considered. Loss of visualization due to bleeding, corneal edema, dense cataract, or condensation on the lens implant can happen. Good intraocular diathermy is essential when bleeding vessel is noted. Elevation of IOP is necessary. Alternative approaches should be considered in cases of loss of visualization. Sticky plastered vitreous, absence of PVD, especially in diabetic vitrectomies, can be any surgeon's nightmare. So here we have a case of PCV, which has bled. So there is an old vitreous hemorrhage. You can see how the heme appears. It's old heme. The cutter is used to do a core vitrectomy. The retina is visible. The hemorrhagic PEDs are becoming visible. The vitreous is cut till the periphery. You can see the hemorrhagic PEDs there. So the posterior hyaloid looks very thick and it is plastered to the retina almost. Creating a plane is very difficult sometimes in such cases. Here it is being induced by suction, and you have to be very careful in this tape as there is a high likelihood of break formation. The PVD is gradually being extended by suction only. The posterior hyaloid face is coming up as a single sheet. It's done very slowly, very meticulously. And you can see the sheet is up now. Finally, once the entire sheet is engaged and is off the retina, you have a complete PVD. Then the cutter is activated and this entire sheet is removed. Fluid air exchange is performed. Now here we have a post hemorrhage removal, a bad diabetic, bad membranes. That's a fibropolyproliferative sheath, and it is being slowly peeled off. The vitreous is cut around the sheet. Dissection is done. A curved scissors is used to dissect the membrane close to the vascular proliferations. There is a high risk of intraocular bleeding in this procedure. You can see it is slowly removed, taking care not to cause any breaks. The vitreous should be completely removed in such cases. Now again, there is an adhesion with a close, with a very big blood vessel behind. The cutter is used first to create a plane. When it fails, then a bent 25 gauge needle is used. One last minute. The membrane is slowly peeled off. This is followed by a laser. There is a ooze coming, which we should be very careful. It is controlled with raising the bottle height. And this is another very bad case. This is the last case I'd like to show. You can see there is a vitreous hemorrhage densely adherent to the retina behind, which is detached. And again, extensive meticulous dissection has to be carried out with the instruments, with the scissors, with the cutter to create a plane. Creating a plane is extremely difficult because of the extensive PVR here. Finally, the adhesion is broken at the end. So at the expense of creating a break behind. This I will skip. I'd just like to conclude that every VR surgery is ultimately a journey into the unknown. The wise surgeon is one who knows this and knows his or her boundaries. Thank you so much.